Hello everyone, my name is Armia and today we are doing another React video. I am going to be reacting to two videos today. First of all, this short by brother Alfabusa, which I missed somehow, called How Ignorant Are Hunters? Spoiler alert, very. And then the other one called Gothic Horror RPGs Set in Your Hometown, an Intro to the World of Darkness. Now, full disclosure, I have seen part of this video before, and obviously I do know of the World of Darkness, but I wanted to talk about this regardless because, I mean, frankly, a lot of these React videos are basically excuses for me to talk about World of Darkness topics, or other topics that I'm interested in, more in depth. Jumping off of a base and then going from there, if that makes sense. Anyway, sorry, I won't ramble too much. Let's just get right into it, shall we?
Reckoning, you fight against vampiric death bolts, shape-shifting rage berserkers, and whatever the hell this is.
Yeah, accurate.
How do hunters keep track of it all?
First of all, they don't. Second of all, I think one of the fun parts of Hunter the Reckoning is actually that like, you know, not knowing the unknown, and the fact that actually in World of Darkness nobody knows what the heck is going on. Like, even the really clever and really old and really powerful beings still have no idea, and that makes the world feel very big, as it is in real life, because yeah, Earth is a small planet in a huge universe, but you know, there's still a lot going on down here.
They don't.
Yep.
Hunters and larger orgs are at least siloed information, even if it's
Oh,
often
okay. I love this design, because I'm pretty sure this is like the design from the Second Inquisition in Vampire the Masquerade. I think it's Blood Hunt, which was the Battle Royale. Which, if you don't know, there was a Battle Royale for Vampire the Masquerade. It was actually pretty good, in my opinion. Definitely not bad. It actually took place based on the 5th edition event, where basically Prague is being purged by the Second Inquisition.
reliable.
But non-aligned hunters?
Most are staggeringly ignorant of what they're up against. Even the most canny hunter can go through their careers clueless as to the true nature of their foe.
Yeah.
Amarilla Anna.
The masquerade.
Camilla, the first vampire. Oh my god!
Take Grunve!
Here's a fun fact about that, actually. There's a lot of discussion about, like, who is the actual first vampire, because normally it's Cain, right? Cainite, that whole thing. But Cain is well, for one, he's a mythical figure, so is he even real? Even if he is, and even if, like, everything we know about him is true, does that make him a vampire, or is he, like, the originator of vampires, if that makes sense? Sort of like how you can evolve in evolution, you can evolve from something else that doesn't make that something else the same species as you. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Anyway, Grunfeld Bach.
Bach, for instance.
Bach's an inquisitor with the Society of St. Leopold, and loads of crazy stuff is happening all around him.
A quick detail about that, by the way. The Society of St. Leopold is Catholic. They are the Catholic hunters. They, I think a good comparison is if you've ever watched Helsing Ultimate, anything like that. Anderson is very much that vibe. Same sort of deal.
A potential antediluvian, the Ankaran sarcophagus, the encroaching schemes of the Sabbat, the Giovanni, these guys. So who does he zero in on as Doomsday draws close? Prince Sebastian LaCroix, the ineffectual venture Meow Meow in charge of the local Camarilla.
Okay, I love Sebastian LaCroix as a cat boy. LaCroix is interesting.
Sure, LaCroix is, like, bad. On paper, he's real scary.
The truth on the ground is much more complicated.
Because Bach has some kind of weird ancestral grudge, we can't see that. And any hunter that follows his example, any hunter who's not completely fastidious in their investigation.
Yeah, this is actually a really cool thing, and if you've never taken a look at the Hunter the Reckoning book, 5th edition, please do. It is a really, really good book, and this is actually a huge part of the game, figure out who the quarry is, what they want, how to deal with the quarry, and then the actual dealing with the quarry is a very tiny part of the game. Like, a lot of it is investigation and information gathering and just, testing things. Like, for example, actually, in episode 2 of Hunter the Parenting, we see Dee's family, like, trying out a bunch of stuff with vampires that they captured. It goes wrong, and it kind of ends up becoming a hunt, kind of by extension. But yeah, like I think it's really interesting.
Runs the risk of missing the forest for the trees.
Yep, that's a really good short. Okay, wonderful. I had a lot to say there. Goodness gracious. And there's a lot more to it, and I love Hunter. I think Hunter is genuinely my favorite game line in the World of Darkness. I think the World of Darkness is fantastic. I think it is really, really interesting as a setting. And I've just gotten really, like, I've gotten sucked back into it thanks to Hunter the Parenting. So I have a lot of stuff to talk about with it. Anyway, let's take a look at Gothic horror RPG set in your hometown and the intro to World of Darkness, shall we? And make sure those settings are correct.
So there's this show, it's called Hunter the Parenting. You write it and you might have seen it.
I might have seen it, maybe. I'm not sure. Like, I definitely don't have a giant playlist of this, of me watching it.
It's based in White Wolf's World of Darkness franchise.
Now, paradoxes.
And follows mostly mundane people hunting vampires, werewolves, and other creatures of the night through the mean streets of Norfolk, UK. A lot of people in the comments section report really liking it.
Yeah.
So, thanks, guys. But lots of comments also mentioned they'd want to learn more about the setting. Not just hunter or vampire or whatever beastie of the week we present, the wider world of darkness.
And here's like a very interesting part, and I'm sure we'll get into it at some point, but the wider world of darkness, even back in the 90s when World of Darkness was very, very new when being written, a lot of the world of darkness is unclear, even to the writers, on purpose. Oftentimes, even the same splat will have contradicting information about any given location or person or all sorts of things. And I kind of like that because there's this idea of the misty myths, you know? If you've ever picked up a book and had a sort of misty feeling with it, the sense of mystery, the sense of, well, mystery. There's that sense of unknowing, basically. That sense is super interesting to me. Because I think very often in our daily lives, we have a tendency to go, oh, everything's been explored already. Oh, I know everything already, like, out there, right? Because most of the things that we encounter in daily life can be explained, you know, like electricity, cement, cars, stuff like that. That's all relatively, we're all used to that. That's all the parts of the world that we're used to. But that periphery, the parts that we don't see, the parts just around the corner, that's where the world of darkness lies. And that is just, oh, I love it.
We got those comments a lot back in the old TGS days, but with Warhammer. And this time we thought we'd act on them. So.
As an aside, Warhammer is also a very fun setting that has a lot more to it than just war. I won't get into it too much, because otherwise I'll be here for like another, I don't know, 5 hours. But it is a very interesting setting. If you ever want to like do a deep dive into the lore of that setting, let me know. I could also talk about Rogue Trader, for example, which is a fantastic game to get used to the general vibe. Also, Jesus Christ, this face is terrifying.
That's this. So, if you want to get into World of Darkness, let me be your guide.
I'm very happy today. I hope it's not too much. Oh, hey, the mana.
Content disclaimer. This is our first time ever doing a video essay, and so this is very experimental. Also, I am not the master godbrain who has been playing World of Darkness since, like, I was a protoplasm. This is the
Speaking
godbrain
DH
of
minus
someone who
780.
got into it, like about, a while ago, back in high school, and just my personal experiences.
Very fair. Also, I just want to mention something. I really like how they use the Masquerade Bloodlines backgrounds for this. Bloodlines is really interesting because it really distills that sort of 90s, early 2000s vibe that a lot of World of Darkness stuff has, right? Now, a lot of, like, World of Darkness doesn't have to be bound by that time period, but it does click very well with that sort of feeling of... The 90s had a feeling of hopelessness in it, and this vibe of the apocalypse is coming, and that fits very well with the World of Darkness.
There's going to be people that have been more invested, know more, and probably have a better idea of whatever the hell they're talking about than me. But...
Okay, I know that wasn't on purpose, but I kind of like how it kind of looked like he was looking at me. Also, I do not want to consider myself an expert, just for the record.
I've got quite a reasonable perspective on things, and I like to think I know what I'm talking about.
I'm sure you do.
Completely unscripted ramble.
No, dude, Station.
I'm Speaker D. This is Ogre Popenang, whatever that means, and this is...
That is actually something like, what does Ogre Papanang mean? Like, have they ever explained that, or is it one of those things where it's like an in-joke that nobody else gets? I don't know.
This is our very first video essay, so let's get started. Let's start with two things. Number one, World of Darkness is a tabletop role-playing game first, and everything else second.
Arguably, it's a LARP game first, even. I'm sure we'll get into it, but the LARP scene of World of Darkness is significant, especially vampire. Vampire LARPers are huge. I was a ghoul LARPer at one point, single session, and having to drink from somebody's wrist, obviously not actual blood, is an experience. Let's just put it that way.
There's video games, card games, books, etc., but it all sprang out of the tabletop setting. Number two, as this is a role-playing game, in order to immerse you best into the setting, we're going to start with you. Yes, you.
Me?
Bear with me for a second.
Okay.
Have you ever gone on a solitary walk at night? You walk under the pale glow of streetlights. Shadows smother your familiar surroundings. No one ahead of you. No one behind. No one but the faint sound of passing cars and an infrequent, dull hum. It doesn't really matter where. A suburban cul-de-sac, some dark corner of a city, or maybe a dirt road in the country. It doesn't really matter. Have you ever gazed up at those buildings, the ones cloaked by night, and wondered, what secrets are they hiding? Who uses this place? Who's in there? That weird farmhouse you always pass, the crooked sign. The apartment above the boutique store, whose lights flicker rhythmically in the night. Or maybe the suburban home, the one choked with weeds. We've never seen anyone enter or exit, but you've always spied that same rusted car in the driveway.
So, first of all, fantastic vibe setting. I love how to do that. Second of all, I have two things to mention out there, actually. So, first of all, actually, two things to mention. I already mentioned one. What are you talking about, Armia? Anyway, so, the thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is that the solitary walk at night. I used to do that quite a lot when I lived in Brussels, actually. I would go out to the European Business District. To give you an idea, Brussels has an entire area dedicated to the European Union. Like a bunch of office buildings. Nobody lives there. Everybody works there. So if you go there at night, it's empty. There's literally no one there. And you still get the sounds of the city far beyond, you know, just beyond your periphery. But when you're there, you're alone in a place where people are supposed to be. And it's such an interesting feeling. It's like... It's as if... It's as if you walk in like a post-apocalyptic place, if that makes sense. I quite like it. I think it's very interesting. That sort of... This place where people are supposed to be, but aren't. I think that's really interesting.
In our normal, everyday world, these things aren't that deep. Inside the farmhouse is a normal family. The apartment needs to call an electrician. The house is just vacant, or has bad owners. Simple as. The world of darkness is a lot like our everyday world, but more specifically, it's the secret world. The one hidden just behind the mundane. The lights flickering in the apartment window aren't random. They're a signal, and when decoded, they tell their beholder the exact time and date of their death. Within that vacant suburban home, a coterie of vampires gorge themselves on slumbering neighbors. As the nights pass, more homes grow vacant. Missing posters paint the streetlights. And
I love
farmhouse,
that.
the family? Normal as normal can be. But if you look with the right eyes, you'd see the spirits of the countless buried in the dirt, howling the names of their killers into bleak, uncaring night. World of Darkness packs dark urban fantasy just past the everyday periphery.
Everyday periphery, there it is.
Twist. Unlike our lives, where most people are shut out from grim and hidden workings, here, you're in on it. In World of Darkness, you aren't the man on the street. You are the vampire. You are the ghost. You send the signal. You bury the bodies.
Yeah, I think there's a fascination quite often in fiction, and just for people in general. Role-playing as a medium is kind of all about trying out things that you can't in real life. You know, like a lot of us, 99.9% of us, aren't murderers, but Vampire the Masquerade often starts with murder. It often starts with you being murdered and becoming a murderer. And I think that's really interesting. I think it's interesting to take up a different role, an otherworldly one, if that makes sense. A style, just exploring the types of experiences that we can't have in our daily lives. I think that's fun, and I think it's interesting. And honestly, now I want to make a video essay about role-playing.
Sounds morbid. Gothic. It is. But you can throw all that in the garbage because World of Darkness is also Clown World! Hello, welcome!
Oh.
Tequila is real. He found his way to vampires,
hold
but
on.
everyone hates him because he's famous!
Wait, that's true.
It's an evil fast food chain that puts literal demons into their cheeseburgers. It is owned by the same corporate death cult that owns the evil beer company, doing the same thing to their beverages. The reason they do this? To subtly convince random people to beat their wives. This is not a joke. You want more? Oh, I can give you more. In 1914, a deranged inventor named Sarvargo was so disgusted at the capacity for mankind to destroy, he brought a giant Zeppelin armada to cities and declared himself world emperor. A hit squad composed of secret agents, killer robots, and biofreaks were barely able to force him to retreat. And then real-life scientist Michael Faraday vaporized him so hard they both exploded. And everyone on Earth forgot this ever happened because the New World Order covered it up. I feel insane. And I'm not even talking about the steampunk explorers fighting Nazis on the Hollow Earth, where the ancient kingdoms of the Lizard Gang setting is off its shit.
I think a very, very good baseline with World of Darkness, right, is kind of the same baseline as Deus Ex, if you've ever played, like, the original Deus Ex. The world of Deus Ex is, what if all conspiracies were real at the same time? World of Darkness is kind of the same. The Illuminati? It exists. The New World Order? It exists. The moon landing? Yeah, that was a conspiracy. World War I? Probably orchestrated by someone. World War II? Definitely orchestrated by someone. Just all kinds of crazy stuff going on in the setting, and I think it's cool to... I think that's another thing. I think it's very cool to just explore that sort of thing, you know? Like the Roswell aliens, etc. What if they are real? And then, like, role-playing with that. That's the interesting part of World of Darkness. It's also completely ridiculous. And yes, the general population in World of Darkness is, quite frankly, dumb.
It's got some pretty crazy stuff in it. But unlike my maximalist lore drop, it's also cool.
It does have a cool vibe.
Take a step back. Save for those moments where the comedy of absurdity of a situation just completely takes the reins, you probably won't notice how incredibly elevated the world is, because WoD plays it pretty grounded. Only the DM, or storyteller, really sees how deep the rabbit hole goes. For most everyone else, it kind of feels like the world we know. Just a little darker, and a little more absurd.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think one of the very cool things that, for example, the Vampire the Masquerade visual novels do is they capture that feeling of darkness and despair very well. That feeling of you're suddenly in this world that you don't know anything about and you have to navigate. I think that's a very interesting way to go.
For example, WoD vampires are thought to bear the curse of Cain, the first murderer featured in classical hits like the Bible. This literally doesn't matter at all to
Was that a Steam page for the Bible?
the 20-something stoner who got turned by his Tinder date. Hell, he could live in Scheme for hundreds of years, and it still might not matter.
True.
In fact, it probably won't. See, WoD has a lot of advantages in setting itself in our world and our time. In World of Darkness, you aren't just relying on what a DM thinks a medieval world should look like. You're relying on a DM's knowledge of the real world to set your scene. Most DMs have no idea what a medieval economy looks like. They haven't really thought through how the world would change if a 90-foot giant shit lightning in the local textile industry. Nor should they be expected to. That'd be a lot to expect. Honestly, you'd have to be a messed up medievalist to get anything done.
So, okay, first of all, hilarious that Calm the Range is in there, but also, hilariously, I was one of those DMs that was like, all right, we're doing fantasy here. I'm gonna figure out the logistics of this world. I was one of those DMs. I had everything figured out. I had, like, maps of cities. I figured out trade routes and how people got rich and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, it's a lot of fun to do that stuff. But holy, I poured a lot of time into it. I think I have a setting with more than 100,000 years and, like, 10 different religions, probably more actually. At least 10 different religions, about 100 different cultures, and everything in between, with, like, wars and civil wars, and princes and kings and duchies and blah blah blah. And, like, 99% of that is not relevant to your game. And actually, since I'm on this little ramble anyway, if you yourself are a DM or a GM or whatever you want to call it, if you are interested in telling a story, my main two questions would be: A, are you having fun making what you're making? And B, does it support the story? If either of those are no, then maybe consider, like, why you're making them. Now, if you just want a world build for world building's sake, go for it, right? Like, go crazy. Just, you know, if you want to be efficient with your time, it might be good sometimes to say, okay, I might not need to know the exact number of people that live in this town. Just say, like, it's a big town. You know?
But you live in the world you're playing in.
I do?
You know what happens if you call in a bomb threat to an airport? You know about how long it takes to drive?
Also, I'm sorry, was that Call of Duty for a second there? I think it was. Yeah, that's Call of Duty footage, I'm pretty sure.
You know how much gas costs, what can be found at a local grocery store, and the shit you don't know and need to research? Brother, it's the real world! What do you think's gonna happen if a 90-foot giant shits lightning on your local meadery? But beyond just being our world, WoD has its own feel too. Yes, a lot of familiar locations exist, but World of Darkness is going for something a bit more elevated than an adventure localized entirely within your local Greg's.
That actually sounds really fun, and I kind of want to run that now. Just an wait! I just realized I already ran that. It's called Armia After Hours Case 1. It's literally a supermarket store. God. Okay, I'm just moving on.
Completely subjective opinion. WoD is best described as No Country for Old Men, as directed by Suda51.
Ooh.
No, that doesn't necessarily mean Anton Chigurh running around with a beam katana. Necessarily. Instead, it's the dry humanity of No Country for Old Men, skirting the edges of the law and the world of the known. It's the familiar town where fiction painfully meets fact. Heroes taking their chances have their luck run out, while evil is implacable, inescapable, mundane, and no less immune to the normative conventions of the world they live in. The coin travels across time and space, from minting to now, to save a cashier's life. And another makes the same trip, to take someone else's. Or maybe both were as meaningless as the money people die for. Into this formula comes the saccharine madness reminiscent of Suda51's No More Heroes or Killer 7. Hammer horror monsters run webs of shadows, where blood is lubricant to an uncontrollable mosaic of agendas. Just as characters can be drab like No Country, they can be bright and shining, vibrant with camp, mystery, stupidity, or intrigue. There's a sense that you're caught in this bardo state, a place between life and death, between the pawn, the king, and, if you're fortunate, the errant spanner in the works.
I think another good way to look at it is like purgatory. Like, World of Darkness very often puts you in the middle of a bunch of people's other schemes going on, you know? And I think that's really interesting.
It's a celebration of mayhem, decay, or at least the people who live amongst it. Maybe absurd, but those absurdities just mimic the off-kilter beats of our own manic world. That's just my take on it, though.
No, I think you're on point.
World of Darkness. But to hear WoD describe itself, the term it lands on is Gothic punk.
Real quick, before we get into Gothic punk, I just want to talk about that My World of Darkness. Because, yeah, it's your World of Darkness. And I think that's something that's very, very strong. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but World of Darkness, in general, has a tendency to... You know, there's a few things that are true, like just factually true, in the World of Darkness. But if you're running Vampire the Masquerade and you don't want mages or werewolves to show up, you can just not have them. You can just say that in this version or this story, either they don't exist or maybe they just don't feature. And that can be your World of Darkness, and it can work just as well. Sometimes it's very good to just zoom in on a specific point and just really get all the detail. So yeah.
I like it. It's got a nice ring to it. But what exactly does that mean?
Gothic punk.
To hear it from them.
The term Gothic punk
Frederick.
best describes the decadent ambience and rebellious fervor of the World of Darkness. Violence blends with elegance as wealth and privilege mix into the panoply of fear and cultural conflict. In cracked, squalid cities, people dance and while away the hours in glittering social clubs, trying to ignore the urban center's decay. The towering buildings of the downtown scene cling to art-graven styles. By contrast, slums roil with strife and warfare as desperate masses of humanity claw at their pieces of turf. Under the gleaming spires of the church, the halls of justice, and the artifacts of society, the masses strive for lives of comfort and refinement. The Gothic image of looming architecture is everywhere, chased with gold and silver as it watches over the dispossessed. In contrast, punk nihilism echoes in the overpowering despair of dreams destroyed. Ignored by society, the less fortunate rebel. The upper classes revel decadently in their wealth, while gangs, criminals, the insane, and the deprived maraud through crumbling neighborhoods. The buzz of technology is nearly overwhelming, as disenfranchised groups revolt through shocking displays of brutality, art, faith, and mysticism. The world careens down a fast track to self-destruction, and everyone wants an escape.
Okay, that's fantastic. I just want to mention really quickly, if you ever play Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, once you get to the second area in the game, I believe it's called Downtown, just look up. Like, just stand there for a bit and just look up. And you will see Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is a game that has a lot of unrealistic bits. But the towering buildings that loom overhead are perfect to this vibe, to this style, this sense of vertigo when you look up like that is fascinating to me.
That's the creator's vision, and honestly it rings true. Most game lines have that kind of dichotomy. The one between the monolithic power structure versus the burgeoning voices of those that haven't quite bought in. What could a setting where Draculas control Amazon's board of directors be if not Gothic? What is a setting where you can smash their faces in with a golf club, if not punk? Before I get sidetracked down a never-ending ramble hole, though, besides the
I like the pan noise there, that was nice.
unique feel and elevated supernatural shenanigans, being set in our world has advantages other than knowing how much a hot dog costs. It also gives players at the table an onus to make characters that feel real. Sure, those real people might be vampires, or have some elevated profession like hitman, rockstar, criminal, CEO, but it also empowers you to make your PC a 28-year-old garbage man named Chuck.
Yeah!
Who just happened to get wrapped up in whatever game line he's in.
This is actually what we do again with Armia After Hours, where in the first case, our main character was literally just a supermarket worker. In the second case, she was a writer. So like, yeah, like I think that is some of the best role-playing you can do. Not to say that, you know, playing a rock star in the World of Darkness is bad. It's not. It's in fact very fun, and I would absolutely recommend you give it a go if you ever want to play like a Toreador rock star or something like that. But I find it incredibly enjoyable to just kind of, you know, go with a really basic dude and just go with that.
In my opinion, it's one of the most fun ways to play. Just make your character sheet what you'd expect a garbage man to have, give him a few hobbies.
Let's see. Pick up my vampire boss, Desire. Figure out which co-workers are ghouls. Redemption. Protect someone from my quarry. Ooh, funky. True tales from the bin. That's a fun. Okay, I do like seeing the this is some good stuff here. Like, for example, Chuck Gardner was picking up the bins one very early morning when suddenly he saw something that would change the course of his life forever. There were two boys sprinting through the dew-covered leaves through the towards the nearby forest, screaming and shouting as if chased by someone seeking to do them harm. Chuck, bewildered by this display, decided to try and follow them, see what the hubbub was about. But upon entering the woods in his attempt to follow the children, he saw something else. An old woman, it seemed, but with a face that was simply wrong, sprinting in a fashion wholly abnormal for someone that age. The creaking old hag passed him by in the distance, clearly without a care for his presence. But even so, Chuck was frozen. He could not do anything. He had seen something he was not meant to. His whole being screamed to him. And soon, the terrified screams of the children fell distant and silent. He has no idea what happened to those children. That is killing him that he did not act. He's now seeking repentance by finding and trashing the hidden threats beneath society. See, that's a really good base for a character right there. And I think that concept of, like, just a normal person who's seen too much is really strong for Hunter. And mind you, you can do the same for, like, vampire or mage or all kinds of other stuff. Even werewolf to some extent. But yeah, like, it's fun like that.
Figure out what matters to him, and then just jump off from there and see where you amble. It's not some Dark Souls wretched playthrough handicap either, by the way. In my home vampire game, between the member of the esoteric snake cult and the overworked car mechanic, it's the car mechanic that...
Let's see, a follower of Set. I mean, to be fair, your car mechanic here... your car mechanic has more stamina, I suppose.
left every encounter with a body count, and the cultist, who tends to have to staple their tongue back in their mouth once some mean beastie caves their teeth in. All of this is probably overwhelming, and that's kind of on purpose. But WoD has this really bad reputation sometimes. It's a game only for ephemeral thespians who take their role-playing and setting very, very seriously. And yeah, those guys definitely have a place. Quite frankly, close-knit communities of goth LARPers built this fucking city.
Absolutely.
You might think that's cringe, but you might also think that the world is flat, so get over yourself. But much like in our world, in my most humble of opinions, WoD is a lot weirder than that. It's not some solitary penumbral orb of misery and mope. It's fucking hilarious.
I mean, you say that, but looks at Changeling. Changeling is definitely an orb of mystery and mope and insanity.
And strange and warm and heartfelt, just as it's tragic and dark. WoD is a place where, much like the real world, you can go from horrifying tragedy, harrowing encounters, dreadful monsters, and then have a 2-hour in-character argument stuck in line for fast food, trying to explain to Dale, the food service worker, why you're covered in foam war blood.
Funnily enough, that actually came up in Case 1 again, with Armia After Hours, where there was a whole thing about, like, who stole Abby's croissant, which was like a whole... It was a whole thing. It was very fun to roleplay, like, just a very mundane, like, you stole my croissant! How dare you!
It's a crazy world, and there are so many different flavors of WoD to choose from. Run as a monster, clinging to their humanity as a vampire. Be a frantic survivor, desperate to wake others up to a supernatural menace and hunter. Or turn into an 8-foot werewolf and fight a radioactive death shark in Werewolf.
Yeah.
This is the thing that happens in Werewolf. Yes! It's cool.
Yeah, werewolves, death sharks, by the way, there are were-sharks. They are insane. It's very fun.
It's also dumb. Is all this pretentious? Yes, and maybe a little too subjective. I mean, I did just tell you that WoD isn't so self-serious before hitting you with a few film school essays. But cringe is dead and I'm still breathing, so that's the way it's gonna go.
Yeah,
if anything
baby.
I'm rambling about sounds even halfway interesting to you, keep watching, and you'll probably like what you see.
Oh god, I just realized I've been going for 40 minutes already, and the video's only 15 minutes in. Jesus Christ!
Game philosophy.
Before I keep selling you the legend of John Hender's hammer, though, I should tell you how WoD earns the accolades I've been heaping on it. Most TTRPGs are built on the famous 3 pillars. That's combat, exploration, and social gameplay. Some games flex especially hard on certain pillars. Pathfinder 1st Edition wouldn't be Pathfinder 1st Edition if you weren't busting the mechanics open like some multi-armed gunslinger tycoon of the action economy.
Yeah,
You know,
like, Pathfinder especially really rewards breaking it, and I do like that a lot in it.
A game like Call of Cthulhu is all about the mystery and horror of Lovecraftian fiction. Players aren't called adventurers, they're called investigators.
Here's another thing, by the way, I need to do some videos on Call of Cthulhu. Oh, so good.
And that's because the game focuses more on the pillar exploration than rushing down Yogg-Sothoth with a blicky and a pocket full of dreams.
I mean, admittedly, you can also do that.
Likewise, as you probably guessed, World of Darkness is the role-player's roleplay game, with emphasis on your character first and everything else second. Therefore, it leans...
If you're, by the way, looking for a role-player's roleplay game in, like, fantasy, may I recommend Burning Wheel?
...most heavily on the social pillar. What does that mean? Essentially, if you're tuning in for Vampire Diablo, then there are better games for you. The systems here are built around drama, suspense, and politicking. Combat's fun, but it's also incredibly lethal and risky. Any schmuck with a shotgun can get lucky and remodel your face into a vertical conversation pit.
Yeah?
Unless, of course, you're a werewolf, an 8-foot-tall killing machine of Gaia's vengeance and fury, except for also, no, it's still possible. Just more difficult.
Yeah.
Not invincible. No one is. In WoD, the game isn't usually about plundering a dungeon. It's about maintaining whatever stressful life you're presently leading, struggling and changing as you bounce between unseen agendas, all while fighting to make your own possible. WoD is ultimately a game about the players, their decisions, their goals, more so than other RPGs. You set your agendas. You decide what's important to you. Your storyteller's there to guide you, to challenge you, and ultimately build a satisfying arc. Different game lines have different ways to approach the more social, character-driven aspects of the game. These approaches are universally interesting, and something I'd love to go more in depth with for individual game lines in later videos.
For example, Vampire 5th Edition has a social combat system that I really need to get deeper into. It's kind of, you know, when you're sparring with an opponent in a political debate sort of deal. And that's just cool. It's just, I like social combat. It's a really cool concept.
Here's a few in a nutshell, though. In Vampire, you play as a monster, forced to drink the blood of the living to survive, struggling and compromising with your darkest self to retain your humanity. It's an experience best summarized in the signature phrase, "A beast I am, least a beast I become." In Mage, you are an enlightened will worker with a unique gift, the near limitless power of magic. And with that magic, you can quite literally change the world. The question is, how will you? Do you have the right? And have you thought through what happened to the world if you did? Or hell, what happened if you didn't?
That's the thing, Mage is a super interesting game, right? Because it basically asks, like, okay, you are now a god. What are you gonna do now? And obviously, early mages are a lot less powerful than that, but you get what I'm trying to get at, I hope.
Wraith in particular has a very strong concept.
Oh, Wraith.
You're dead and gone. A verifiable ghost with a whole world of ghost politics and ghost intrigue surrounding you. But all of it is artifice. At its heart, Wraith is about moving on. Your goal isn't to become king of Ghost Mountain, it's to confront your death, accept it, and leave your character behind as bravely as you can.
Wraith is kind of Depression, the role-playing game. It is very, 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 very difficult to roleplay, in my opinion. It is... I've tried it twice, and both times were really interesting and really, really rough. And I would recommend it to everyone. If you're up for that sort of experience, if you have the time and the energy and the inclination for it.
This act of confronting mortality, of essentially starting play with a character who ideally won't survive, it's very interesting. I think it's pretty powerful and bold. And the only reason more people don't play it is because another player at your table contractually has to whack you with a horsewhip all game. It's very weird.
You know, I know, like, it's a joke, but only barely.
Kind of adversarial, but it can be good. Only play it with your rabbi, your priest, your polycule, whoever you trust. But hey, you want to hear more about combat? Let's go. Depending on the kind of creature you're playing as, you have different systems working to keep you more alive than the average Joe when some psychopath is belt sanding your skull in half. But no matter what you are, you need to plan your engagements, at least a little bit. Fight dirty, try to strike first, strike fast. Strike when the guys you're trying to decapitate aren't staring directly at you, because even if you'll probably win a fair fight, you could also suddenly and unexpectedly not.
Yeah,
This more
absolutely.
realistic approach to combat not only encourages you to fight sparingly and find other means of resolving conflicts, but it also gives you, the player, a leg up on even the biggest of bads.
It also gives you a bit of incentive to just be smart about combat, right? If you are going to fight someone, ambush them, throw sand in their eyes, use fire against vampires, silver against werewolves, research, be clever. And I really like that about that sort of low power system.
This is because the metric for oh fuck for essentially everyone in the setting is 3 to 6 people with shotguns hanging out somewhere they don't expect them.
Mm-hmm.
That statement on the dangers of combat shouldn't be confused to mean every beastie is a pushover, though. Vampires take bullets like love taps. A werewolf pack decisively wins the M1 Abrams matchup.
Absolutely.
And mages can essentially deal with anything so long as they've got prep time. But whether you're running a hunter's cell,
Yeah, for those who don't know, Batman is a mage.
vampire coterie, or a wraith circle, they're called circles. But anyway, no matter what your boy band is called, the thing that can give you the edge over supernaturals more powerful than you is this. The base rule for everyone else in World of Darkness is something to the effect of, fuck you, got mine.
Mm-hmm.
Most greater societies, organizations, or deeply troubled people tend to go it alone. When they confederate, it's usually on deeply unequal footing, with strangled ambitions and treachery around every corner. Predatory people act like predators for all the good and all the ill that nets them. So that's a strength for your special group, who, ideally, do not all hate each other and or are not actively plotting each other's death. 8 together strong, so if tactical plastic placement fails you, know that just having a circle of dependable friends and allies is a hidden X factor in a
You and the squad about to hit the town. Yeah, absolutely though. Like, having people you can trust is intensely powerful, even in real life. Fun fact about that, actually. Basically, in Japan, Nobunaga and Tokugawa just basically trusted each other 100% and never betrayed each other. And that was a big factor in them being able to conquer Japan and ruling it eventually.
like this. For those paying attention, yes, you're goddamn right, the power of friendship is meta in World of Darkness, just like it is in real life. This shouldn't be taken to think that all supernatural creatures are weenies, though. Vampires juggle dumpsters, the Fae can shoot death beams by playing the ukulele. It's just that even with that kind of firepower, damage in combat is kept somewhat realistic. Mark Henry is a very strong lad, but if I ran him over with an 18-wheeler, his strength would not avail him. Probably. Maybe the best way to view
performance
it is
success.
mostly realistic. It's not as if there are painstaking systems meant to reflect getting your wounds infected or whatever. In fact, as dangerous as combat is, you can sometimes pull away with even the faintest of odds. Case in point, I have one memorable story of a game where one of my players very bravely leapt out and started doing kung fu shit at a group of heavily armed PMC door kickers. He beat the snot out of one, but was seemingly oblivious to the fact he had put himself...
Okay, really quickly, I just want to point out, my gun nerd is coming out. They decided to give these guys like boys anti-tank rifles with like really weird muzzles and stuff, which is just, god dang it, Okapapanang.
PMC door kickers. He beat the snot out of one, but was seemingly oblivious to the fact he had put himself point-blank range with his rear to a man with an automatic shotgun. This should have been the end of his character, for despite their kung fu moves, they had no protections outside of their leather jacket. Yet, somehow, that bastard managed to walk away. Not just with their life, but with nary a scratch. Is that because it's a dice game and I rolled the worst damage in the world? Yes. But it also illustrates a point. Because on the other end of the spectrum, you have moments where getting shot point blank with a shotgun does not result in a small boo-boo, and instead bypasses powers granting invincibility and immortality.
I will point you to Buffy the Vampire Slayer with a rocket launcher on this one.
This is best seen in 5th edition's Conclave of Prague. A lore event.
Oh, yeah, this one.
Shotgun blast turned the perfectly chiseled face of Camarilla faction leader Hardestaff the Younger into a goopy splattering of extra spicy alphabet soup.
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier, actually. So one detail there that is important to mention, that shotgun was loaded with silver-laced dragon's breath, I believe it is. So basically like a flamethrower, which, needless to say, vampires don't like.
Despite the fact that the guy had a near-complete mastery of Ventrue super durability. Personally, I've had it both ways. the combat isn't realistic in the sense that things are modeled realistically, and you have to make sure your wounds don't get infected and Warhammer Fantasy shit. It's realistic in the sense that combat is confusing, tumultuous, and dangerous. Outside of Werewolf, WoD is not typically that combat-focused of a game. So
there's a very fun quote about combat. This was from a tank driver in World War II, I believe. Tank commander in World War II, where it's like, the 75mm is engaging the enemy. The 37mm is also engaging, but is pointed the wrong direction. The 50 cal machine gun is jammed, and while I'm trying to fix the radio, somebody hands me a ham sandwich, and it's just like, yeah, that sounds about right. Combat is weird. It really is.
when it does happen, combat accentuates the social consequences of battle, namely the risk of death. So why then, if it's so dangerous, would anyone get involved in combat? Because, dummy, it's fun! Also, your characters probably have something to fight for. And if they don't, dumbass, you probably have a boss you're beholden to that's gonna make you do shit you don't want to do because they don't want to do it.
I love the animations that they do. The animations feel so, jank in a good way. I love that.
Whether it's your ideals, your own survival, or pure self-interest, most inhabitants of the world of darkness will eventually find violence filtering into their lives. WoD has a strong emphasis on corrupt systems of power. Almost every game line has a heaping helping of row row fight the power baked directly into it.
Yeah?
Unless, of course, you choose to row row be the power, in which case your prerogative is making sure anyone fights the law has about as much success as the Bobby Fuller 4. Fight!
Random thought, but I kind of wanna roleplay as like a Pentex character sometime. Not because, you know, they're good or anything, but specifically because they're not. Because playing as a villain in World of Darkness is interesting.
Break the yoke of the ancients as an anarch vampire, or jockey for your place at the top within the Camarilla. Toil to bring magic back to the world with the Council of Nine Traditions, or keep the masses moving towards your utopia in the Technocratic Union. Or fuck it, sit it all out, don't pick a side. Trouble inevitably will always come to you, but the choice and its consequences are always yours. So, if you're ready to play a tabletop role-playing game that focuses on exploring your own special snowflake as they struggle and suffer in a hostile world of freaks, if you're okay getting your head popped off because Soup Can Joe, the heavy-hauling hobo, rolled 6 10s on their firearms roll, if you like vampires, werewolf, wizards, and urban decay, World of Darkness might be for you. The only question is, where do you start? The answer is a video game.
Oh, okay, we're doing Bloodlines. Okay. So Bloodlines... Quick fun fact, by the way, about this character while we're here. Specifically, this character. This is who Harley Quinn, like modern Harley Quinn, is based off of. But beyond that, real quick, I would also recommend Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines on one condition. I recommend it for the vibe. The vibe of that game is on point. It is very, very, very strong. And especially if you just like play through like the first part, you get the general gist of like, this is what vampire feels like. Gameplay-wise, less so, because a lot of CRPGs and computer role-playing games in general make you a lot more powerful than tabletop role-playing games do. For example, Fallout New Vegas. You start off as just some random schmuck, but you end up as basically a god amongst men by the end of the game. Same thing with something like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, and that's fine. It's okay to do that in games. But tabletop games tend to have lower or slower power scaling. You might end up as a very powerful elder who, you know, drinks everyone dry and destroys all who stand before them. But that's not necessarily where you start, and in that regard, Bloodlines isn't good if you expect that sort of experience from every single tabletop that you go into. I guess the point that I'm trying to get at is, if you do want to roleplay, and this is just in general, talk to your DM. talk to your storyteller. See what kind of expectations they have, you have, etc. Do you want combat in your game? Do you want a lot of chatting? Do you want just a specific vibe? It's important to have that bit of communication, just so you all know you're all on the same page. Anyway.
World of Darkness is lucky enough to have several excellent video games under its belt. The one everyone talks about is legendary crime against semicolons, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Do not let punctuation fool you. Bloodlines is very, very good. A classic, some might say. Many people might say. Many people might say better than me might say. So I won't go into exhausting detail.
I will mention, by the way, there are a bunch of other World of Darkness games that I would also recommend. A lot of the Vampire the Masquerade visual novels are quite good. I quite liked Coteries of New York, for example.
If you've never heard of this game, there are many excellent breakdowns on Bloodlines to pursue at your leisure, but take my word for it. If ever there was a WoD primer, by God, it's this game. In it, you play a freshly embraced vampire of your chosen clan, plunged headfirst into a web of undead politics, treachery, and other hot topics. Your decisions matter, the characters feel human, and nothing has encapsulated the feeling of World of Darkness better, in my opinion. Is it flawed? You bet your ass it is. Don't ever ask me what a Quay-Jin is! But to be brief,
So very quickly, I want to defend the Quay-Jin a little bit. I know, controversial statement. So for those who don't know, the Quay-Jin are quote-unquote Eastern vampires. Now, that's a very reductive statement, and there's a lot of issues there, right? Like, fair is fair. There's a lot of issues with the way they did it. However, I recently read the book, Kindred of the East, and you'd be surprised how decent it is, actually, and how even the book itself acknowledges that, hey, look, this is just a starting off point. For example, the term Quay-Jin is a term they themselves made, specifically so they seem more united to the outside world. While, of course, it is somewhat Sinocentric, because, well, China kind of dominates a lot of that sphere. There's a lot of other stuff in there that's really interesting as well. So, while I understand the dislike for Quay-Jin, and while I definitely think there's a lot of problematic things there, I would say don't completely dismiss Quay-Jin if you if you're willing. Give Kindred of the East a try. Read it. See what you think. If you don't like it, perfectly fine, but don't dismiss it out of hand.
highly recommend it to just about anyone who has ever drawn breath on the planet. Just, yeah, play the unofficial patch.
Oh yeah, that's true.
About Hollywood Sewers is true. But I know you want more. You want the TTRPG. So I'm gonna tell you where to start there too.
One other thing I would recommend with Bloodlines, play a combat character. Especially for the later half, if you do not play a combat character, you're gonna have a bad time. Like, trust me, play a combat character.
First, ad time.
Ad time?
Imagine, if you will, you are on an airplane. It crashes into the Atlantic Ocean and, miraculously, you survive. A scream. Another survivor dragged into the brine. Fins emerge. The hungering, deadly maw of a great white shark swimming straight for you. In this situation, wouldn't you rather be at Noble Night Games? Noble Night Games has given us a mysteriously sourced bag of money to promote this anti-shark propaganda. And also, to remind you that it is the premier location for tabletop games and RPGs in Madison, Wisconsin, where you now live! Are you and your coven suffering from symptoms of dystopium and looking for a new, fresh RPG franchise to fill the void? Oh, you are? What? None better to help plug that gaping wound in your Sunday evenings than Noble Night Games! You want to play Vampire the Masquerade? Which one? How about Vampire the Requiem?
Oh, that one. That's gotta be. Oh, there it is! How do they do it? What's going on? And they have Mummy and stuff. Okay, I'm less scared. It's safe to come out again. Wargaming? They got it. Boards games? They got it. The Spear of Longinus? They keep it.
I have to say, by the way, these guys do have really good advertisements. Good lord, they are really good at it.
On the back. Glue? All the glue you can eat. But what to do when that Mafia book you need is sold out? Well, add it to your want list. You'll get an email as soon as someone with the book dies and their possessions are contributed to the Noble Knight Game Archives. Thank you. Or if someone, sells it to them through their buy and sell program, which you can also do. All this with a free shipping within the U.S. for any order over $149, as well as a flat rate U.S. shipping option with all orders shipped out within 24 hours, which indeed covers your order of 15 Blood Dim Tide supplements, you mermaid milk freak. Do you see this now?
Congratulations on becoming part of Wisconsin, everybody.
He fights for your freedom. He does want to kill you, but he won't. Why? Because gamers like you populate his web store, buy his goods, and temper his wrath. In conclusion, who was D.B. Cooper? I don't know, but you might find the answer at nobleknight.com.
Well, that was certainly something.
Part 3 editions.
Okay, have you played Bloodlines? Yes? Great. Did you not? That's fine too. I mean, it's a great game worth your time, but not all necessary. Just use.
Honestly, a part of me would also almost recommend going into a roleplay of World of Darkness completely blind, because a lot of them do work really well with that. Obviously, don't do that if you're the storyteller. But even then, it works very well as a world you know very little about. I mean, most of the folks in Armia Afterhouse have never roleplayed, let alone in the World of Darkness. So, they do quite well.
Useful. It's a great way to step into the world, especially if you have problems getting a stable group together for a tabletop game.
That's fair.
But supposing you're ready for that step anyway, you've got a table wanting to try out World of Darkness, you know how to play a tabletop role-playing game, or otherwise excited to learn, where, amidst all these crazy WOD books, do you start? That's a complicated question. Let me lead you to the answer. First, you'll need to pick which game line. Each game provides different creatures for you to take the roles of, different themes and toolboxes to play around with. For instance, love everything I've talked about with combat. Werewolf is, and always will be, the most combat-focused WOD game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Want intrigue? Every game line does intrigue, but few do it as well as Vampire. Or fuck off, disregard all of that. You think elves are cool? Play Changeling. Cast a mighty spell and play Mage, if you fucking dare. Whatever. All the shit I talk about in themes is optional. You can make any kind of game you want with these systems. I'm just covering what the default is slanted toward.
My personal recommendation would be something like Hunter. The main reason because Hunter puts you in the role of a normal human, like yourself, presumably, and gives you the option of exploring at your leisure. And I like that sort of thing, I have to admit.
Here are the issues you're going to run into, though. For one, WOD has been around since the 1990s, and it can be easy to get overwhelmed by choice. Which book should I play? Which edition is the right one? Etc. That's number one. Here's number two. Despite the wide bevy of WOD games, they're not all updated to the latest edition, 5th. In fact, at time of writing, only 2 are. Usually,
I would really recommend 5th edition, by the way. I have been using 5th edition Vampire and Hunter, for a bunch of stuff. They are genuinely really good games.
There's not too much of an issue playing between editions, but with 5th, there is one. Or well, more of one. Slight changes in how difficulty, damage, stats, and other things are handled make it harder to cross over with older games. This means you have several essential choices. Option 1. At time of writing, only Vampire the Masquerade and Hunter the Reckoning have 5th edition variants. Thus far, compared to earlier games, 5th edition games focus on smaller stakes and slower XP growth with weaker characters. This is done in service of creating a more intimate feel for the players. And it works! It focuses on making you feel less like a character in the World of Darkness and more like a person.
Yeah,
and
it's really good.
It's quite successful at that. Early trends involve bigger factions being weaker and more flawed, and more of the onus is on the younger generations to fight for their place in the world. I have overall less to say about 5th edition, largely because it's pretty self-explanatory. Pick it up, play it, and enjoy. Just know that everything else is yet to fully arrive. It's a strong edition, and I'm sure the best is yet to come. It's also worth noting, if you watch the very excellent LA by Night and New York by Night live plays, this is the version of the game they're playing.
Yeah.
There are new resources being pumped out for...
By the way, very fun live plays. Definitely recommend you take a look. Their storyteller is fantastic.
5th with increasing regularity, and it's not going to remain the edition without all the other goodies forever. I'm just giving it slightly less focus, just because there's fewer caveats here than other places. But it's genuinely worth your time.
It's honestly the easiest way to pick up World of Darkness, in my opinion. Like, if you want to just pick up an edition and just get into it without any other hassle, pick up Hunter 5th or Vampire 5th or Werewolf 5th, because that's out now.
If you want to run a vampire or hunter game, this is definitely the place to look. Option 2, 20th Anniversary Editions.
Yeah.
Before 5th edition, the edition of the land was WoD 20th Anniversary. These were released, get this, in celebration of WoD's 20th anniversary. They were essentially released for veteran players of the day, and as a result, they can be kinda rocky to learn at times. The idea being...
read the entirety of the Mage 20th core rulebook if you want to be a real gamer, or I will disown you.
Being either too referential to old material or just plain sparse. But it's the edition I started with, and I turned out alright, so I still
drop it into
highly
Ascension War. Get your spheres in order. We're going to Fandy hunting.
Most games
son.
enjoyed being either too referential to old material or just plain sparse. But it's the edition I started with, and I turned out alright, so I still highly recommend them. Most games enjoyed a pretty cool 20th anniversary release, and in my opinion, it's still the edition to run if you want crossover shenanigans.
That's true. And 20th edition, so the way I would describe it for the D&D players amongst you, 5th edition is, well, 5th edition, while the 20th anniversary is like D&D 3.5 or kind of Pathfinder-ish, where a lot of people do prefer 3.5 or Pathfinder, and a lot of people prefer 5th edition. Neither are better or worse, they're just different.
5th edition, you'll likely be able to roll out with a comparatively more powerful character, but there's also a lot more jank. Balance isn't really at the heart of WoD, given it's just, not that kind of game, but it's a lot easier to break than 5th edition for damn sure. For better and for worse. It's not enough that I'd not recommend them to a newbie, but it is enough to warn about, so consider yourself warned. I just warned you. Despite these caveats, though, outside of the occasional weirdly worded subsystem, it's not like 20th Anniversary is a major downgrade. In fact, I know plenty of people who still prefer playing this edition to the newer ones, and I can't really blame them. Even for games with 5th editions, if you wanted to run a vampire game where you're all elders and not snot-nosed neonates, fuck it, 20th ain't a bad choice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, if you want to play young, new vampires, 5th edition, all the way, but indeed, like they mentioned, for elders, play 20th. Like, if you want to really dive into... If you really want to dive into the World of Darkness, like the more, the higher power levels and the craziness, I definitely would recommend 20th as well over 5th edition. 5th edition, I would really recommend for new players, just because new players are just... Well, you don't know a lot about the setting yet, so that sort of, hey, I'm new to this setting, let's figure it out kind of character works really well for that. Plus, it's a lot of fun to play.
Are hideous, lumbering monsters. You'll notice I'm insulting them a lot. That's because I love them all. I don't own just one 700-page Mage 20th core rulebook. I own two, and one has a weird stain, and I don't know where it came from. 20th is also so accommodating that you can easily just take older supplements and quickly adapt or even straight up use their adventures, powers, merits, and flaws in your own game. Even if the content you're looking for is ancient, you can probably dig through any old WoD book and find something that can fit in your game with a few tweaks. My friend Odoroshi once ran the prehistoric crossover module Midnight Circus for our home group of 20th
Oh, Midnight Circus is neat.
It's a great success, even though it was originally printed 2 months after my birth. Sure, a lot of the content aged poorly. A lot of the content aged poorly. But the underlying concepts and many of the characters and situations were fun and easy to translate to 20th parlance. The parts that didn't, well, our storyteller just filled in the gaps with her own original content. Got rid of the stuff she didn't
pretty
like.
much. Kind of like Jurassic Park now I think about it. Just fit it in with frog DNA.
It's not just modules either. Area splats, faction guides, hell, even some main game lines have languished in earlier editions. But it's all still accessible thanks to how adaptable the older storyteller system is. I mean, think about it. Before the D&D 5th edition reprint, could you imagine running classic Tube of Horrors in the modern system? Well, you could with WoD. I mean, not Tube of Horrors, but, you know, Evil Circus Hell and this crab thing.
You want to know a fun fact, by the way, about my start with role-playing? This is actually a very fitting face for that. My start with role-playing was 2nd edition D&D, Tomb of Horrors. I was a wizard. I died. It's kind of a wonder that I went on to really enjoy role-playing because, holy, that was such a scuffed thing. Oh dear.
Anyway, the TLDR is this. If you want to play Werewolf, Mage, Changeling, or Wraith, or if you have a style of play that clashes with 5th's design philosophy, 20th is the spice you're looking for. Have fun. Option 3, Stygian Madness. Sadly, not all games got a 20th anniversary release. Some games have languished in their sordid states for eons with barely an errata in sight. They are few, but they are infamous. And some people really, really like them. Essentially, if you're looking to get a rousing game of Demon the Fallen or Mummy the Resurrection, you're going to be looking at old rules.
Really quickly, by the way, I need to read up more on Demon the Fallen at some point. I need to sit down with that book. But also, Mummy is super fun, and I would absolutely recommend it, even with all the old rules.
Fortunately, these are going to be relatively self-contained and explicable within the language of their own text. WoD game lines be like that. I cannot advise much in this juncture, for I have rarely afforded myself such terror. I've used Demon the Fallen rules for NPCs in certain games, and it was universally a harrowing experience. It was like being submerged in the dim waters of the river Styx, and losing all that I am. That being said, the games have their cult followings for a reason. Be brave, play them, and have fun! But know that if it's your first time, it's probably a bad idea to start here. It won't be too
Honestly, if I wanted to be really mean to Burger Krieg, I could make a video about Demon the Fallen and then just be like, hey Burger Krieg, I did it first, nerd!
challenging once you have a game under your belt, though. Option 4, Chronicles of Darkness. Oh boy, this one is...
Chronicles.
Take a hot second.
Chronicles is interesting.
Here's some history. Sometime during the run of WoD, the developers decided that enough had been done in the metaplots to warrant a global update. Modules were released for end-time scenarios for all game lines. You got to pick your favorite ending, and the idea was that they'd say goodbye to the setting forever. In its place came the new World of Darkness, now known as the Chronicles of Darkness. This is a completely different, confusing continuity that is extremely different from the old World of Darkness. In Chronicles of Darkness, you do not play Vampire the Masquerade. You play Vampire the Requiem. You do not play Changeling the Dreaming. You play Changeling the Lost.
So, I don't know that much about Chronicles of Darkness, and I should read up on them more, because they are actually also very interesting.
Yet, so am I. This isn't quite WoD. For Warhammer fans, think of WoD as fantasy and Chronicles as Age of Sigmar. For one, the rules and systems have been streamlined and optimized in a way that even 5th edition took notes from. For two, the world and game lines are similar but very distinct, with some real standouts. In particular, Hunter the Vigil is a very cool take on the Hunter experience. Whereas the older version of The Reckoning focused on supernaturally augmented imbued, Vigil focused on normal hunters, introduced numerous cool and creative hunter compacts, as well as the concept of becoming a slasher, a fucked up kind of hunter that went from being a slayer of the supernatural to a metaphysically augmented serial killer. H5 no longer focuses on the imbued, and I think that's because Hunter the Vigil just kicked so much ass. Changeling the Lost also gets its fair share of accolades. Changeling the Dreaming is well known to be somewhat inscrutable, difficult to understand, and a massive glowing orb of madness floating silently in the classic WoD catalog. Changeling the Lost simplifies the story a bit. Instead of playing as the Fae, you play as someone cursed by the Fae, which grants a very distinct play experience. It also makes the games radically different from each other, to the point where I'd almost warrant to say the Lost is just its own weird little thing.
I think in general, Chronicles of Darkness is definitely worth checking out if you're a WoD fan and you're like, oh, I want to check out something new. Chronicles of Darkness is very, very interesting. And while a lot of people talk it down, I think it's honestly very interesting bit of gameplay. I need to play some of these game lines at some point, like Hunter the Vigil, etc.
Chronicles is still getting updates, such as an actually living mummy game and several unique permutations like Deviant, Promethean, and
I actually didn't know about that one. That's cool.
If it tickles your fancy, it's not a bad idea to check out. But you should know that if you're looking for World of Darkness books, Chronicles is something different, so be aware. Now, all of these different ways to play may sound intimidating, but don't worry, there's even more. WoD Dark Ages, WoD Wild West, WoD of the Victorian Age, WoD's incredibly vibrant and legendary LARP scene. There's a lot! Fortunately, it's not all half as intimidating when you realize the base mechanics of World of Darkness are all incredibly simple. Better still, for all their subvariants and additions and blah 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 blah, outside of the unique gimmicks for each supernatural subtype, the core mechanics deviate very little between the games. That's because every mainline book you aren't playing can serve an additional purpose as a bestiary. Your non-furry friends deny you the opportunity to run the werewolf game of your dreams? That's fine. Throw a mid-level Get a Fenris into their condominium and watch the fireworks. The sole exception, of course, is 5th, but even then it can be done. It's different, but not that radically different.
Yeah, honestly, I've played 5th and very easily been able to throw other monsters and other things in there. Oftentimes you have to play a little bit faster and looser with the rules, but quite frankly, you're role-playing. You're already doing that.
Part 5! Mechanics!
How simple is it? Simpler than D&D, to be honest. The core mechanic of WoD is this. All editions utilize a simple D10-based dice pool system. D10s look like this, and character sheets look like this. At character creation, you decide which skills and attributes...
I will say, character sheets look really intimidating at first, because if you look at the character sheet...
looks like this.
And you don't know anything about the game, it's sort of this like, oh my god, what am I looking at? There's so many things. But it's simpler than you would think.
At character creation, you decide which skills and attributes your character has by filling in the dots with the game's allotted budget. Dots represent how good you are at something. 1 dot is below average, 2 is average, 3 means you can make a career out of it, 4 means you can make a great career out of it, and 5 means that you're one of the best in the world.
Yep.
Someone with strength 5, for instance, is one of the strongest people on the planet. Someone with medicine 5 might be an internationally acclaimed neurosurgeon, whereas a med student might have medicine 1 and a nurse medicine 2.
Yep.
So, putting that into practice. This character has 3 dots of firearms and 3 dots of dexterity. They're a good shot and they're fast to boot. Unfortunately, a blood-sucking freak of nature is running right at them!
I will say, I like the detail that they reuse the PMC here. That's cool.
Put those skills to good use. They need to roll to shoot that bastard into the Stone Age. When making a roll, you take a relevant attribute with the skill you're using, in this case dex and firearms, and count their combined dots. Then you just roll that many dice, and boom! You'll have a target number, usually 6s, and everything above that on the dice are successes. Tally your successes, and that's the result of your roll.
Yep.
In this roll, we got 3 dice hitting our target number, so we've got 3 successes. A direct hit! With rare exceptions, this is essentially how every action in the game is performed.
And honestly, it makes it really, really simple to learn. Because I literally, that's literally how I explain it to my players. I just go, okay, so imagine driving. So you want to do like a sick drift to show off to your friends. Okay, dexterity plus drive. There you go. Oh, you roll nothing but failures? All right, you flip your car.
Stab a guy? Dexterity plus melee. Want to not shit yourself on a first date? Charisma plus expression. Easy peasy. The advantages of this system are its ease of use and flexibility. Example. Firearms' typical function is to point guns in people's directions and pull the trigger. But if you wanted to field strip a gun, it's also what you'd use. You could also use it in an investigative sense. Perception plus firearms to determine what kind of gun scoops some poor victim's brains out.
Exactly, yeah. I think there's a lot of very cool things like that, and letting your players kind of come up with those is very fun. Like, your player might say like, oh, but I have a specialization in this thing. Could I, like, argue that this would work for X situation? And oftentimes it's a yes, and that's super fun, because that interaction is what you want in the end.
Hell, if the storyteller is feeling especially kind, you could probably use it in a social encounter too. Impress your fellow gun freaks by speaking enthusiastically of your waifu with charisma firearms. Alternatively, if you're about as intimidating as a baby capybara, as a last-second desperation ploy, perhaps you can scare off an encroaching foe with a sick display of gunmanship. Manipulation plus firearms. Roll high, or else you might catch a hollow point in the skull for your troubles.
I love the idea, by the way, because I admit I'm reminded of, like, Revolver Ocelot. He was just doing that to, like, scare off Snake or something.
Are these combos the only combos you can use for such things? Absolutely not. Sometimes actions can actually be accomplished through multiple combinations of skills and attributes. For instance, a storyteller might allow you to field strip a firearm with the firearms, technology, or craft skills, but not all roles are equal. Storyteller may require more successes for roles they think are a stretch. I typically wouldn't disallow a Dr. PC to synthesize a drug using medicine, but I might make it easier if they used science, chemistry, or botany instead.
Yeah.
Personally, I love letting my players get creative with skill use.
Same.
It's the same reason why I encourage most PCs to have a few...
God, I need to sit down with Speaker D sometime. Hey, Speaker D, hit me up. If you somehow see this, hit me up. I would actually love to have a conversation with him and just yap about role-playing games.
Useless skills. Sure, your 2 dots in law might seem useless at first. But when the party face fails to convince that cop that you definitely 100% know nothing about the string of disappearances you've been causing, your Dark Horse law skill could be the difference between getting him to come back with a warrant and a prison arc.
Yeah, absolutely. And stuff like that is really nice in that regard. Like he mentions, just sometimes there's situations that come up that you just cannot predict, neither as a GM or as a player.
They're the soul of what makes WAD, you know? It's got an incredibly easy to get into dice system that doesn't overly concern itself with mechanics bloat. It's not completely rules light, like Powered by the Apocalypse, but it's less hindered by exacting systems and, like, I don't know, item carry weight.
Yeah, that's a problem that something like Shadowrun, for example, deals with. Shadowrun is a fantastic setting. It is so freaking cool. It's cyberpunk fantasy. So, like, you've got orcs and elves and dragons and everything, but also that cyberpunk aspect. So you've got blood mages doing crazy Aztec rituals in order to make money, or vampires running around, etc. But the system itself is very rough. Like, Shadowrun systems, if you just want to get a gun, it'll give you, like, the option of about 100 different types of guns. Once you've chosen a type of gun, you get to choose 100 different types of that type of gun, etc. It's cool, but it's also very impractical at some point.
What can you carry? I don't know. What the storyteller thinks you can carry. If it beggars belief, make a check. Okay, you'll know how carrying all that weight affects you. A good, adaptable storyteller and a gaggle of creative miscreants can have a hell of a time telling their story using this system.
Yeah.
And really, what more can you ask for?
Part 6. The end!
And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's more. A lot more. Too much to willingly shove into one video.
Oh yeah, there's so much more to talk about.
I could clobber you with tales of the spirited LARP scene, talk about all the incredibly poorly aged WAD supplements, like the Mafia book. Oh my god, Alpha.
That's another book that I need to read it up on sometime, the Mafia book. I haven't really checked that out.
Loves the Mafia book. Next slide, get it away. Being honest, each WAD game line would take its own video to get into the gritty of them, the unique mechanics, themes, and other nuances. So, fuck it. If you want more videos breaking down individual WAD game lines, let us know in the comments. But for now,
I'd actually love to see that.
Deadly bloated mass will wind down here. So, let's review. Step 0, play Bloodlines. Step 1, get a good group. Step 2, pick your game and edition. Step 3,
I kind of want to check out that Denmark by Night game. It looks interesting.
pick a day, time, and place. And step 4, start running. Do all these things, and the world of darkness should open up to you. I love WAD. It's the most fun I've ever had rolling dice. I hope with this video and Hunter the Parenting, we've helped some folks get into this incredible game and community. And if we haven't...
Failure. Perhaps next time.
Oh, okay, that feels weird to hear the Emperor. And hey, I mean, yeah, like, I do think there's a real advantage to making rules very loose. Because if you make your rules not very constricting, not very exacting, you can very easily allow for improvisation and wiggling around in those systems. It requires some trust between the storyteller and the players, but it can work very well in my experience.
You have watched an Ogre Popenang video essay, written and presented by Speaker D, animated by Carl the Deranged, Garrett, Alfabusa, and Dr. White.
Definitely go check out this video down below. I will put it in the description of this video. I really like that. I really like that. I hope I was a bit of a I hope I added something to these proceedings as well. And I didn't just sit here going, I do like yapping about these kind of things. But hey, yeah, let me know what you guys think. As always, World of Darkness is super interesting to me, and you guys know that I like talking about it. I'm probably going to be doing more SCP stuff as well. If you haven't checked that out yet, feel free to take a look. I put out a new video just a few days ago called Are We Cool Yet?, which is a very cool setting for SCP. Anyways... And with that, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. A very special thank you to our members who are scrolling down in the back. You can become a member now if you want to support me as well. Very special thank you as well to our very important planter Aku, and of course Tato, Orlandog, Reed, Ellie Cute Puppy, and Alex the DM over on Ko-Fi for your support. Also, if you want to check out my other stuff, check out my Discord, check out my streams, anything like that, feel free to take a look down below in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!